Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the last regular house groups of the year. I can't believe we're there already. It feels like the year has flown by, and I just want to say thank you to everybody that participated this year. Like, it's such a huge blessing, at least in my life, to be able to do life and faith alongside other people, to invest in a community and have a community that invests in me. I love it, and so thanks for being a part of house groups this year. This week, we're talking relationships, and marriage specifically is part of this Tighten the Knot series, but I think this has to do with all of our human relationships, because what I want to talk about tonight is the way God wired us up to relate to one another. I came across a story this week about a young soldier in World War II named Andrew Weber. And at one point during the war, he wrote a letter home to his mom and said, "Stop worrying about me. I joined the parachutists to fight, and I intend to fight. If necessary, I will die fighting. But don't worry about that. Wars can only be won with the deaths of young men. Those things which are most precious are saved only by sacrifice." And it's that last line that's really stuck with me. Those things that are most precious are saved only by sacrifice. I mean, it's profound, but it's also kind of counterintuitive. I think there's something inside all of us that wants to resist sacrifice. We really like ourselves and our comfort, and we don't want to do that. But if we flip the quote around and start thinking what is most precious in our lives, I think relationships shoot to the top of the list. Our marriages are precious. Our relationships with our family and our friends are precious. And the question I want to ask tonight is, what if those things can only be saved? Those things can only truly flourish through sacrifice. I think that's the message Jesus sends to us. Not just with his words, but with his life. His entire life was sacrifice. He stepped out of eternity into history and sacrificed absolutely everything for the sake of a relationship with us. And right before he died, he told his disciples, hey, look, this is how I want you to live. From this point forward, you don't get it yet. You're going to watch me die and see me rise again, and then you're going to get it. But from that point forward, I want you to live in a way where you express love to each other and to everybody around you the same way that I expressed love to you. And that idea, that new command Jesus gave at the Last Supper, as I have loved you, so love one another. That's how people will know that you're my disciples. That's what the whole rest of the New Testament is built on. Everybody's hey, look, this idea that we ought to love each other like God loved us, that's the foundational piece of relationships. Christianity is built to be a submission competition. Because that kind of self-sacrificial love is what changes lives. That kind of self-sacrificial love is what changed eternity for us. That kind of self-sacrificial love is what points a hurting, broken, shattered world toward Jesus. And I can't help but wonder, what would it do if we started living in our marriages through the lens of the self-sacrificial love of Jesus? How would it change our lives? How would it change our relationships with our friends and our family members and our coworkers and our neighbors if we looked at everybody the way that Jesus looked at us? There's a pastor in Atlanta, Andy Stanley. He likes to say that when Jesus gave that command, he replaced the golden rule. We all know the golden rule, right? Do unto others as you would have them do to you. And Andy says that rule got chucked by Jesus. He said, no more golden rule. I'm replacing it with the platinum rule. Do unto others as God through Christ did for you. That's a whole different level. Then it's not deciding maybe, I'm okay with, them not, it's not about you anymore. It's no, forget doing to them as you'd have them do to you. Do unto others as God through Christ did for you. Marriage is not easy. Friendship is not easy. Being a member of any sort of family isn't easy because we're all broken, and we're all flawed, and we're all imperfect, and so relationships are never going to be quite as simple as we'd like them to be. But what would change in your marriage? What would change in your friendships? What would change in every single relationship you have if you started living by the platinum rule and said, okay, I'm going to do for other people what God through Christ did for me? I know that's scary. I know it is because I'm human and I have a whole lot of friends and relationships and family members, and I'm married. I know it's scary because you wonder what if I do that? What if I live self-sacrificially and I get taken advantage of? The first law of the physical life is self-preservation. But what God tells us over and over again is that the first law of the spiritual life is self-sacrifice. I just wonder What Jesus did for us is unthinkably huge. And if we reacted to that by realizing we have a debt that we cannot pay, and the best way that we can respond to what God did for us is to go out and love people the way that he loved us, I think it would not only change us, it would change the world as it pointed the people around us toward the incredible, incredible love of God. And it would revolutionize every relationship that we have. It would revolutionize our marriages. It would revolutionize our friendships. It would change our families if we decided that which is most precious can only be saved through sacrifice. And just like Jesus saved us because we were precious to him, we're going to build relationships and marriages and friendships that flourish and that point people toward Jesus through self-sacrifice. I challenge you to do it this week.